Hello everyone, this is Kelly from Kelly's Magical Realm, and today I'm going to be doing a story that I wrote. It's called Lingering Memories. I'm going to put the link below because this is online on storyhouse.org. They publish stories that I write, and since it's Halloween I thought I'd do a little spooky music in the background. I promised one of my followers that I would include music, and I just thought I'd have a little bit of some fun ambience in the back with my little aromatherapy diffuser. It's also LED light. And the story Lingering Memories. It's kind of a scary story. My life pretty much in the past was a horror story until the past 5 years when I started to change things in my life. Pretty much I went through physical and mental abuse since I was a child, and that was a lifestyle, pretty much all that I knew. So that will explain some of the things that you may see on this page and what you're about to hear. And I'm going to get started. This is called Lingering Memories. We never can pick or choose the memories that linger in our mind. If only it were that easy. Memories are like songs playing on repeat. And sometimes that list just keeps going round and round like a broken record. I only have one memory of my Uncle Mark. I was 3 years old, and this is a good memory. And I remember him playing the Eagles song called Life in the Fast Lane. I remember I couldn't say fast lane. I kept saying gasoline, play gasoline. I really wish I had more memories of him. They say only the good die young, and that's really a true story because he was very young when he died. He died shortly after that memory, actually, and I do, however, have a couple beautiful photos with him. This is the great thing about photos. Well, it can be. That's one good thing about them. They treasure our memories, and a month before my Uncle Mark died, my grandmother died, which was my Uncle Mark's mother and my mom's mother. I unfortunately do not have any memories of my grandmother that died. I really wish I did. I wish we could pick and choose the memories that we have lingering around in our mind. I only now can see her in photographs and listen to her stories, listen to stories about her. My mom told me that my grandmother used to babysit me every day, and I always went to her house. My mom told me that I always wanted to be at my grandma's house. We lived across the street from her. I learned how to push the chair to the door and unlock it, and I would run out the door and go right across the street to my grandmother's house, and I was only like 2 or 3 years old. I told my mom that I'm nervous that people will leave me and not come back, so I have separation anxiety, and my mom thinks it could have started when my grandma Joan died. My mom had said that I didn't take the news very well when my grandma died, and that's probably because I was only 3. I did not understand where she went or why she had to go away. So I took her picture and I held it to my chest and I rocked back and forth in my little rocking chair. And I always wondered if my grandma and Uncle Mark were still alive, how different would my life be? My grandmother's name, her name was Joan. I don't know much of her background, only that she was French, or half French. I'm not sure of the exact percentage, but her husband, which was my grandfather, he decided to stop talking to my mom and our side of the family. He never said why, but from what I was told, his parents stopped talking to him too. I wonder if it's something that's been passed down in the genes, because this is something that happens in my family where we all stop talking to each other and stuff. But I was told from a medium a few years back that my Uncle Mark and Grandma Joan watch over me from heaven. That made me feel very comforted. And one psychic went as far to say, whenever I hear any song from the Eagles, it's really my Uncle Mark's way of saying hello from the other side and to let me know that he's here watching over me. I do have some fond memories of my great-grandpa Agostino. He spoke fluent Italian and English as well. He was born in Italy, but he moved to America when he was in his 20s, I think. I remember how much fun I had whenever I went to his house. He would always try to teach me Italian. He would always stop by our house and bring me ice cream. Sundays were always a big deal at his house or my Uncle Severio's. My great-grandpa even loved coming to my birthday parties. I remember one time my parents had a party. It was just kids, and my great-grandpa said, he wanted to come over because he never missed a birthday. He even taught me how to eat spaghetti the Italian way. He was definitely the glue of the Maida family, and when he died, it seemed like everyone split apart. Big Sunday dinners stopped, and there was friction in the family. Family arguing over my grandfather's belongings, etc. I was young. I must have been only 11 at the time. I remember the last time I saw my Uncle Joe and my Aunt Ree driving by in the car, and I remember them waving to me. And I remember the first funeral that I went. I remember it was my Uncle Severio's, and I think I was only 7 at the time. It really freaked me out seeing him not alive anymore and in a casket. It was kind of shocking as a kid. And I remember crying, and I remember my dad looking over at me saying, "Why are you crying?" And that's when I wondered if we're supposed to hold our feelings inside, if we're not supposed to talk about those things, And I was wondering, did I even have a right to cry about him? Did I even have that right? And I started questioning things, and I was so confused. And so I started to wonder if only weak people cried. And I tried not to cry anymore, but the more I held my tears, the more they just wanted to come flowing out. Another really tough blow for me was when my Papi Maida died. I was only 16 when he died, but I thought of him as my dad. He treated me like a princess, and he showed me how people were really supposed to treat you, with love and respect. He was the only person growing up that ever treated me very lovingly and with respect. So you can imagine how devastated I was when the only person, that I truly looked up to or cared about died. And he was somebody that everybody wanted to know. Everybody loved him, and he always had a smile on his face. He always told funny jokes. And I used to cry when I was a kid so I can go and visit my Nanny and Papi. They had a house in Thousand Islands. I used to love going there as a kid. And I remember having so much fun with them all the time. So it really shocked me when he died. Because we just left his house earlier that day. I kind of freaked out. The first thing I thought of was to turn to alcohol, and that's when my alcohol addiction started. I turned to alcohol at a young age. I was only 12. I actually was younger than that when I got into it, but 12 was when I would say it really began, like that addiction. Alcohol was something at one point that I thought I could always turn to. It was like a friend to me. It was someone that was always there for me. It helped me forget, at least for a while. It helped me numb the pain. But alcohol eventually turned on me too. When I realized I had trouble with it, it made me sick most of the time. That was something else I had to say goodbye to. I've been sober now for over 6 years. But saying goodbye to alcohol was a beautiful goodbye. I was kind of glad to say goodbye to it. It took a while when I was recovering, but it was good to say goodbye because deep down I never really liked alcohol. It was just a distraction. It took me a long time to see that. But back to my grandfather. He was another person that I did not get to say goodbye to. One thing that my papi taught me was never say goodbye, because goodbyes are just too final. So we never did say goodbye when we parted. We'd always say ciao to each other, or arrivederci. Arrivederci in Italian means goodbye. But he was right. Saying goodbye does sound so final. So I guess even if we had the chance to say goodbye, that we wouldn't have said goodbye to each other. However, I still wish I was there when it was his time to go. The list goes on as far as people I did not get to say goodbye to. My grandmother Maida is on the list as well. I was 8 months pregnant and living in Georgia at the time when she passed. She was living in New York. That's where I'm from. And I was on my bed rest because I was pregnant. The cord was actually wrapped around my daughter's neck, so I had to be careful. I was on bed rest. It was a very, very stressful pregnancy for me. But my daughter was born safely. However, she was born with the cord wrapped around her neck. She was blue for the first 2 minutes when she was born. I didn't hear her cry. I panicked. I kept yelling to let me see her. Let me see her. And they said not yet. Then I heard her beautiful cry. And then all the difficulties of 18 hours of painful labor made it all worth it. But however, I did not get to talk to my grandmother Maida before she died. I didn't get to see her. I briefly spoke to her on the phone. And when I did, she sounded good, and I was really hopeful that she would get better. I really didn't realize how bad she was until she passed away a few days after I spoke to her on the phone. I wish I could have seen her. The whole reason I brought up all these memories, because there are some memories that I really adore, like the ones that I told you about. And they are my happy place, you know? However, some memories I just want to forget. Like I mentioned earlier, wouldn't it just be wonderful if we could pick and choose our memories and erase them? It is possible, from what I've been reading, that you can rewire your brain, and I'm still working at this. I've been trying to do that for a few years, actually. I do find the more that you stay away from negative situations and people, it helps, and I'm sure that all of you know what I mean. That we have all the, some of us, we have memories that still haunt us, like me, like going to a funeral for a loved one, or being betrayed by someone, being attacked by someone. Do you ever think to yourself, like, what if I didn't talk to that person that day, or what if I stayed home that day, or what if I didn't go to that place that day? What if I listened to my gut instincts that told me not to stay away from that person? I wrote a short story on forgiveness. The story is how a man that I thought I could trust almost killed me. He's not the only one that attacked me, but that's one that stands out in my mind. It's not the first time that I was physically abused either. However, there's times when I could still see the images of being attacked. This one I told you about, the one that almost killed me, that was almost 5 years ago now. And sometimes I still see him approaching me. He attacked me from behind. I didn't see it coming. I really didn't. And I could still see those images. He waited until my back was turned. And why does it seem that the memories that we don't want still linger sometimes in our mind? Some pictures we can rip up, but the memories still stay etched in our minds. And you wish you could just burn that memory or just rip it out of your mind. As a child, I was hit so hard sometimes, I blacked out a few times. When I mention it now to people, they say, well, you were little, or that didn't happen like that, or it just happened a couple times that you were beat, or other excuses that they'll come up with. But unfortunately, I remember it was more than just a couple times. And when you're young, violence doesn't make any kind of sense to you. When you're little, you don't know what toxicity means. You don't know that what's right or wrong as a kid, you know. You don't know that being hit's wrong or being screamed at or, you know, someone putting a gun to your mother's head. You don't know that those things are wrong when you're a little child. You're just little. You're a kid, you know. And that was life for me. That's how I grew up. So let's just say I didn't make the best choices in men until I decided about almost 5 years ago that I'm not going to date anymore for a while, because I am relearning everything in life. I'm learning what is, you know, healthy and what's not. And, you know, I've gone to counseling. I've been going for the past almost 5 years now to talk about all these memories that haunt me. Does it help? Yeah, some days it really does. Other days, when I'm having a bad day, and, you know, it's not all the time. It's just every now and then that I wonder if it's working, you know. And I think that you just have to find the right counselor. I keep switching counselors to find one that fits me, because you know, it's not that any of them were like not good counselors or whatever. It's just sometimes you just have to find that right fit. You know, I want more in-depth, deep therapy. And nowadays, it really seems like everyone's damaged, even counselors. You know, it's so hard to meet someone that's not damaged. And to this, I mean people in general. To be honest, it is hard meeting good people. Now that I think back, I really can name on a limited hand of good people I've ever met in my life. One time I actually had a counselor yell at me, and I said something about what I was going through, and I asked her about a program. I asked her why she didn't tell me about the program, and I triggered her wounds. And sometimes I feel that we all just trigger each other, and I guess if we can see why we're being triggered, we can really get to the root of the problem. And I know my triggers now, but that doesn't mean that they're totally gone. But at least I know what they are now, and you really never know what someone's going through. I walked on eggshells for most of my life, always afraid of upsetting someone. This gets really old after a while, so that stopped. I distanced myself and cut ties with toxic people. When I started seeing counselors, they told me everything I learned I needed to unlearn, especially trusting everyone. I used to trust everybody, and they taught me terms such as toxicity and boundaries. Sometimes I feel like the real therapist is in my writing. Maybe that's how I release my feelings. Like I said earlier, I never really knew as a kid how to deal with death or domestic violence. People really have a hard time relating to you if they never walked in your shoes. Everybody wants to judge everybody. You know, let's just say I've been going through everything alone, and I'm not complaining by any means. I think tough times show you people's true colors, which is a good thing. They also say tough times make tough people. I'm a completely different person now. I really don't even talk to anyone now, and I'm just tired from all the crap that people have put me through. I try to stay positive, but the reality is, in my eyes, everyone's out for themselves. I used to help everyone, but now I decided to be a hermit, you know, and now I decided to let my writing and my healing work help people instead of me helping people in real life, because I stay to myself now. Fairy tales are very beautiful. I wrote one and I really love them, but I don't live there. I stayed in my own world for most of my life, you know, until I had to face the truth. Not everyone has good intentions. Evil does exist. You know, you have to see the truth in people. The truth. The reality of people. As I said before, not everyone is the same as you. You can't see what you want to see or walk around with rose-colored glasses. As I said before, not everyone has good intentions. And I am back to living in my own world, but this time I am not disillusioned, and I'm not living in a fairy tale I keep to myself. Now I see the dangers of people and how their wounds can spill over to you, because I'm also an empath. which is a sensitive person for those of you that don't know what an empath is. But the dangers of people and how their wounds can spill on you is a big one for me, because that can be like a domino effect. One damaged person makes another person damaged. So how do we stop this from happening? You know, well, for me, not everyone's welcome in my life anymore. Not everyone deserves your time. I want to be around positive people, and for the remainder of whatever I have left in my life, I just want to be happy. And people, I want to be around people that I feel safe around. That'd be nice for once in my life to actually feel safe around someone. I've never felt safe in my whole life. You know, like I said, I'm an empath, a sensitive person that can easily pick up energies of others. And to be honest, I don't trust others anymore. That's a true statement. Not sure if I will again. The only person I really trust is God, and like Tupac said, only God can judge me. And that is it for my short story. I try to keep on my page, you know, I like posting as much positive and healing information that I can. And, you know, some of my stories, you know, are not that happy. But the point is that we learn from what's happened to us. And I hope that not only my writing can be a release for me, I hope it can be a voice for others. I hope I can give a voice to other people. You know, maybe that is why we've gone through some of the experiences that we've went through, so we can be a voice, so we can all help each other, so we can all stand up together, you know. And that is it. Thank you for listening, and take care.